Welcome to our deep dive into the nature of color. You sent over some really fascinating material about a young girl named Iluminar and her quest to understand color. And what's really cool about this
Yeah.
is that we're going to be exploring this through a Brazilian YouTube video transcript.
Okay.
It's like a children's story, but it blends philosophy, physics,
hmm
and even a little touch of magic. Get ready for some talking animals,
Yeah.
glowing gemstones, and even the ideas of Hegel.
Hegel.
Yes, that Hegel.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, it's really interesting how this story uses such a simple narrative, but to introduce some pretty complex concepts,
Yeah,
it reminds us that learning can be an adventure, especially when it comes to, these big philosophical ideas.
exactly. And we're introduced to Iluminar right away, this curious girl living in a Brazilian village, always surrounded by her animal friends. And she discovers this treasure chest filled with these radiant gemstones, a ruby, a diamond, and an emerald. And she decides to give them new special names, Escarlet Brillante and Floresta. What stands out to you about that right off the bat?
Well, it really reflects Illuminar's youthful perspective, her desire to kind of interact with the world on her own terms. It's as if she's already kind of challenging the established order, signaling that she's ready to explore the world in a new light, literally.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then her wise grandfather steps in to explain the true nature of color. And get this, he brings up Hegel.
Hegel,
Can you believe that?
the children's story.
A children's story weaving in complex philosophy.
It's remarkable. You see, Hegel's philosophy is known for its complexity, but the grandfather breaks it down beautifully. He explains that color isn't something that just exists within the object itself. It's this dynamic relationship, a conversation between light and the object.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break this down for me a bit more. How does Hegel fit in here?
Well, one of Hegel's core ideas is this concept of the dialectic. The concept that knowledge and understanding come from the interplay of opposing forces. So in this case, it's the interaction between light and the object. The object kind of accepts certain aspects of light while rejecting others. It's this push and pull, this tension that gives rise to what we perceive as color.
So it's not just that the ruby is red, it's actively engaging with the light, taking in some and reflecting back the red.
Exactly. Think of it like a
Yeah.
prism. It holds on to all the colors of the rainbow within itself, and when light passes through it, it releases them as this beautiful spectrum. In the same way, objects hold on to certain colors of light, and that's what determines how we see them. The grandfather kind of explains this concept to Luminar using the ruby escarlet as an example. It absorbs all the colors of light except for red, which it reflects back, creating that perception of red.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make her question if the gemstones are real, if their color is just reflected light?
You're right on the mark. Initially, Illuminar is a little disillusioned. It challenges her perception of reality. If color is just reflected light, does that make the gemstones less beautiful? Less real?
That's a pretty profound question for a young girl, and one that a lot of us might ponder too. What happens next? Does her grandfather leave her hanging with this mind-blowing revelation?
Not at all. He offers her this comforting and incredibly insightful perspective. He tells her that each of us carries this special light within, light that allows us to see the true nature of things. This inner light isn't dependent on external factors. It's a source of truth and innocence, and it's something we all possess.
So there's this idea of an inner light that helps us see beyond the surface, beyond the mere reflection of light.
Exactly. It's about looking deeper, seeing beyond the physical properties and recognizing the essence of something. And Illuminar, with her childlike wonder, embodies this concept perfectly. She's like a little beacon of truth shining her light on the world.
I love that. It's such a powerful message, especially for young minds.
Yeah.
But this story doesn't end there, right?
You're absolutely right. This is just the beginning of Illuminar's journey to understand color. And it takes a turn towards science when she has this conversation with her mother.
Oh, so we're going from philosophy to hard science now. How does that transition happen? Oh, so we're going from philosophy to hard science now? How does that transition happen?
Well, Illuminar, like any curious kid, keeps asking questions. And her mother, being a bit more scientifically minded, dives into the biological aspects of color perception.
Okay.
She explains how our eyes have these special cells called cones that detect different colors of light.
Okay, that started to sound familiar from a biology class.
Hmm.
But how does this tie into the philosophical discussion about color?
Well, this is where it gets even more intriguing. Her mother goes on to explain that everyone perceives color a little differently. Our individual experiences with light, the way our brains process information, and even our emotions can subtly influence how we see color.
So what I see as red might not be the exact same red that someone else sees. That's fascinating.
Precisely. It adds a whole new layer of complexity to our understanding of color. It's not just about the light and the object, it's also about the unique lens through which each of us experiences the world. And this realization sparks a bold experiment for Iluminar.
Oh, I bet I know where this is going. Does she decide to try seeing the world without the influence of her own cones?
You got it. Iluminar, ever the adventurer, decides to put on a blindfold and explore the world using her other senses, touch, smell, and sound.
Wow, that's a pretty profound experience to try and recreate even for an adult. What does she discover by shutting off her sense of sight?
Well, this is where the story beautifully highlights the idea that beauty exists beyond what we see. While exploring her surroundings, Iluminar has this, magical encounter with a hummingbird.
A hummingbird. Now, how does that happen when she can't even see?
Well, the story doesn't explain it explicitly, but I think the hummingbird symbolizes a deeper understanding of beauty, one that transcends mere visual perception. Remember, Iluminar is also exploring with her inner light, that sense of truth and innocence her grandfather talked about.
So she's not just blindfolded, she's also tuning into a different way of experiencing the world.
Exactly. And this experience reinforces the idea that true perception goes beyond just the visual. It's about being present, being open to the world in all its richness, regardless of whether we can physically see it or not.
This story is packed with so many layers of meaning. We've gone from philosophy to physics to biology, and now even a sensory experiment. It's incredible how much depth this children's story has.
It really is. And it all circles back to the grandfather's wisdom. He emphasized that it's not just about the light we carry within, but also about our willingness to experience the world differently with an open heart and a curious mind.
It's as if Illuminar combines that inner light with a kind of inner sight, an ability to see beyond the surface and perceive the true essence of things. But how does this impact her understanding of color?
Well, through this incredible journey, Iluminar realizes that understanding the science of light and color doesn't diminish the beauty of the gemstones or the world around her. In fact, her understanding deepens her appreciation.
It's like the saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. It opens up a whole new world of wonder and awe.
Precisely. And as Iluminar continues to grow, she becomes known as Menina Iluminar, the girl who made the world shine. Think about the significance of that transformation. She goes from being fascinated by the literal sparkle of gemstones to embodying a metaphorical sparkle, a radiance that comes from understanding and sharing her inner light.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way. It's not just about seeing color, it's about radiating a kind of inner beauty and understanding. It's a testament to her ability to inspire others to make the world a brighter place.
And inspire others to find their own inner light, too. That's the real magic of this story. It reminds us that we all have that potential to illuminate the world around us. But the question is, how do we tap into that potential? What does it mean to make the world shine?
That's a great question. And I think it leads us perfectly into the final part of our deep dive. We've explored the philosophy, the science, and the personal journey of Iluminar. But now it's time to turn the lens inward. What about our inner light? What does all of this mean for you, dear listener? We've explored the philosophy, the science, and the personal journey of Iluminar. But now it's time to turn the lens inward. What about our inner light? What does all of this mean for you, dear listener?
That's the most important question, isn't it? We've seen how Illuminar's understanding of color transformed her perception of the world, and even how she interacted with it. What about you? What experiences, values, and perspectives shape your view of the world?
This deep dive has really made me think about how we each experience the world in our own unique way. Just like how everyone perceives color slightly differently. It's like we all have our own internal prism refracting the world through our own set of experiences.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And just like Illuminar, we all have that spark of curiosity, that inner light that can illuminate not just our own path, but also the world around us.
It makes me wonder, what would it look like if we all embraced our inner light? What kind of world could we create if we focused on seeing the essence of things beyond the superficial?
That's a powerful thought. Remember, Illuminar didn't just see color, she radiated it. She became Menina Iluminar, the girl who made the world shine. Think about what that means for you. How can you make the world shine a little brighter?
We might not have talking animal friends or magical gemstones, but we can all strive to be a little more like Iluminar. We can choose to see the world with curiosity and an open heart. We can be more aware of our own internal prisms, understanding that everyone perceives things differently.
And most importantly, we can share our own unique light with the world. It could be a simple act of kindness, a moment of understanding, or simply choosing to see the beauty in everyday moments.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. from the philosophical depths of Hegel to the scientific intricacies of color perception, all through the lens of a charming children's story. But the real journey begins now, as you, dear listener, continue to explore the nature of color perception and your own inner brilliance.
Remember, the world is full of wonder and beauty just waiting to be discovered. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep letting your inner light shine. Who knows what amazing discoveries await?
Until next time, fellow deep divers.